And it's 10:01.
10:01. All right. Well, hopefully everybody had a great holiday season and good new year. And you've already have your 2026 plan in place and have already started. Everybody got your plan in place? And if it's not, that's fine. But this is the opportunity. There is right now, what you have to look at is the fact that there's going to be all kinds of negative talk about what 2026 is going to be and looking back at what 2025 was and what the pressures are going to be about tariffs and the new agreement and what's going on in the world. It's that just forget about it all. There's a simple task that you have to do this year. Talk to more people, meet with more people than you did last year. That's it. Okay. So the best session that I always want to start off with in the first part of the year is looking individually at your opportunities. Okay. You've probably heard me talk about this before, but every year I go through my complete database. I look at my mail outs that I sent. I look at text messages that I had conversations with. I look at all the different emails that I've had. I look at all the different meetings that I've had. And I look at people that are clients of mine. I also look at people that I ran into and just got to get information from. And you need to go through and you really need to look at what are the opportunities. And what I mean by that is every year I go through and I put together and I'm old school. I don't care how you guys do it, but I go through and I do my sheets of paper. And I basically write them all down. I know you can't see it because it's all handwritten. And I write down, I go through and I put opportunities this year. And as I'm going through my database, I look at that individual name, that individual family, and I look, what is the opportunity I could possibly help them with this year? It could be just as simple as, have they outgrown the space where they are? Like, how old are their kids? Have the kids actually moved out? Is the space too big? Are they in a rental? And maybe they need to look at the opportunity, might be able to move them from a rental into either a different rental or possibly into purchasing something. But you have to go through and don't just look at your database and go, oh, yeah, I send them a flyer, I send them email, I text with them. You have to think in your mind, how can you help them? Okay. Because they're not thinking, right? So what you have to do is you have to go through, and I've been doing this for years. And every year I end up where on my list, and I put this list up, to my wife's chagrin, but in our bedroom, I have one wall that I post all this up on. And I look at it daily and I review it daily. And I literally put down as simple as a house for Jay. Well, Jay's been talking about buying a house for a couple of years. Well, put it on the list, and I've been putting it on the list. I sold him a house last year, so I ticked that one off. I got another one down here, which is simple as help Amanda with her parents' properties. I know her parents have properties up in Thornbury. I got to meet Amanda through a person I got to meet at the ski club. I just heard her talking about it just last few years. Oh, my parents are getting to that age. I may have to help her. So I wrote this down last December. Help Amanda with her parents. The house that I sold up in Thornbury was one of Amanda's parents' houses. And we hadn't even started talking about it. But yet I wrote it down in December because I heard a conversation that she was having with her partner about, I'm gonna have to deal with mom and dad's property. But something's, mom and dad are getting to that point. So you've got to go through your database and really look at each individual name. And again, if it's not in your database, it's check your text, whatever conversations you've been having. But you have to think of it of where are they at? Where are they at today? And how can you help them? And so as simple as I wrote down something else here, as simple as, a condo for the Robson boys. Well, these are clients of mine that I sold them, they downsized, moved up north. Well, during my conversations with them during last year, one of their sons has graduated and now is working in downtown Toronto. Right? Well, he's currently living with dad. They have a place down here, but during listening to conversations, I was hearing, okay, well, what's the opportunity there with that family? Well, maybe if the son's going to be working downtown, instead of renting, maybe I could talk to him about buying something. Right? So we have not had that conversation, but in my mind, what I do is I look at each individual and say, where are they at today? What conversations could I bring to them that they may not even be thinking about? Okay. And you have to put it out and you have to put it in front of you. I don't care how you do it. If you do it electronically and it pops up every day, I'm still old school where I got to see it. I got to read it. But I have made a lot of money by just doing this one particular task every year. The issue is that can you actually go through your database and say, when you look at your database, can you actually understand where those people are at in their lives today? If you can't, the first thing you have to do is have a chat with them and remember to use the question, right? The 4 questions: family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. You don't have to talk to them about buying and selling real estate. That's not what your task is. Your task is you have to understand where are they at in their lives. They may not be thinking about buying anything or selling anything. But the list that you're doing is not just for this year. I put stuff on this list that took me 5 years before they actually did something. But I kept carrying that notion of where they are in their lives. Where can I help them? And just by doing this one particular thing, as I say, has made me a lot of money. It's also given me the opportunity that I really dive in more to my database. This is a relationship business. Are you asking questions of your database, or are you just passively thinking, I have this database, I send them a newsletter, I send them an email, I text them on their birthday? Or are you actually having the 4 questions and getting more information from it? That is the magic of real estate. Okay. This last month and a bit with the holiday season, you should have been doing a lot of that. Okay. Now is also a great time to reach out to your database, make those calls, make those appointments. Ideally, if you can do it face to face or on Zoom versus by text, but however they communicate, you need to really look at what are your opportunities, and just don't think of them. You really got to think about it. Okay. Does anybody do that? Because if you're not, you're really missing out. You're missing out on the opportunity of really helping your database, helping to bring business to you. Because you've got to think about where they are And where are they going to go? Where are they going to be at 5 years from now? But you need to start having those conversations today. And you need to have it in front of you so that as things pop up, and the reason I look at this daily is all of a sudden I'm looking at the new listings and I go, oh, wait a minute, this might be a perfect scenario for this particular. And I'll send off that information. I'll go, hey, I know you guys aren't ready, but I believe that, one day your kids are going to be in a position where they may want to buy. Here's some information about first-time buyers. Here's information about first-time buyer incentives. I haven't asked them about buying and selling real estate. I'm just giving them information. And the reason I'm giving them the information is because they're on my list. I'm looking at where are they at down the road. I'm not just looking for the immediate information.
And how impressive is it when you do call them or send them a message and be like, hey, we spoke last year, you mentioned this. By the way, here's this. They're going to be like, holy smokes, how did I even remember that?
Right?
Yeah.
And that's, and I did that with clients of mine where I said, hey, I know your kids are getting ready to go off to school, off to university. I said, we've done that. We did the university tour. If you have any questions at all, let me know. I said, I'll even offer up my daughter's experience. And they're going, oh, that'd be great. Thanks.
Tour guide.
Right? But, right?
Michelle, what are you doing Wednesday?
Nothing about buying or selling real estate. Nothing, right? But then what happens 2 or 3 years down the road, I get, got first year done. Now we're looking at buying something to, have our son move into and with other people. And it's like, okay, but if I didn't have them on my list, if I didn't look forward, how can I help educate them today for a decision down the road? I would not get that business. Okay. So this is the magic part. This is relationship building. This is how you build a consistent business. This is how you build referrals. So if you're not doing this step, you need to be.
I would say, because I was going to ask after you do your list and everything, what would be the next step? How do you, like, the Ford is good starting there, but how do you then continue to have a conversation about real estate? And I like what you said about just being on top of the market, finding those things that maybe not right now, but sending as an example of like, hey, and I know, this might be coming up. I did something similar with a lease client. He referred me to somebody. I was helping her look for a purchase, and I had sent her the first time home buyer guide. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to send it to him too. So I was like, look, I know I just put you into a lease, but this is just something I sent to, your friend. So I wanted to send it off to you just for the future, just so you have it. And it may provide you with some good information about what's available to first-time home buyers. I actually got a text message this morning because that first message about the first-time home buyer guide, I honest to God did not get a response for like 3 months. And then I got a response to that message saying, well, you know what? I've been thinking, how much do these stacked townhouses go for? And I'm like, oh, so glad you asked. And that was back in like November, December. Set him up on Realm. Haven't heard from him since. Reached out a couple times and, did the holiday thing. But got a text message this morning that was like, okay, so I saw this one come up. What can you tell me about it? How would this compare to what I'm currently in? So it just, those small things have started a bigger conversation, all because I was doing it for someone else and I looked down the road to see, what this person is going to buy. I don't know when exactly, but I know they'll buy. So let me send off this information that I've currently put together for someone else and just say that and say, you know what, I just did this for someone else. I thought of you, thought I'd send it off now just for down the line.
And that is exactly why this system works. Okay. But you do it consistently. By doing this consistently, and yes, in the beginning, sure, You're going to have a question. You're going to say, just thought I'd send you this information. Well, these are the same people that should be getting your monthly newsletter. These are the same people that should be getting something from you, both in print and electronically, right? These people are going to get information from you, but now what you're doing is the information you are sending out is generic. Your newsletter, the market stats, that's generic. Now what you're doing is you're now becoming more personable to them. You're now going on one-on-one with them and saying, like, for instance, I know I have my person that's been handling my bank stuff last year, because I was doing an RSP. She, we were chatting and she said, Scott, can I just ask you a question? And I know I shared this with you guys. She said, my folks, we've got their house in Oakville. They're not quite ready yet, but I know you're in real estate. And, I'm just wondering, if when's a good time to sell? And I just said, well, if you don't have to sell, don't sell this year. So guess what I've been sending her? Information on downsizing, right? Information on what's going on in Oakville. And I've not said anything about she's going to use me or not use me. I'm just saying, hey, it's a big decision. I've handled hundreds of this situation, helping people downsize and relocate. And I said, it's stressful on the family. I've sent articles to her on just the stress of that. It has nothing to do with buying or selling real estate. But now it's personal versus just generic. And that's the whole idea of when you're doing this list, is you should be looking at understanding your database and where they at in their lives. Do they have senior parents? If you don't know, you better start asking, right? Do they have other people that they're, helping, guiding? So you need to look at your database. You need to go through it. You need to start having these conversations that are more personable, so you can add in that personable touch. Okay. This, to me, this is my gold mine, and I'm working on it. And every time I do it, there's stuff that comes up that I carry over, and all of a sudden it's like tick mark, but it's been on my list for 5-6 years. And yet I put other stuff on here and it's like, crap, I didn't know that was going to happen that soon, but I just knew where they were in their lives. Are you that engaged in your people? You need to be, because if you're not, I guarantee you, there will be a realtor that they're going to come across when they decide that all of a sudden it's the right time to do it, that's already engaged with them. And your newsletter, all that stuff isn't going to mean anything. You've got to be more personable. You've got to let them understand that you know who they are. They're not just a commission. Okay. Now, when it comes to asking the questions, have any of you over the holidays, in your interactions, at your events, have you practiced the Ford questions? And what kind of responses were you getting? This is where it's interactive. 2026 is interactive year.
Yeah, on Monday, I was heading to the gym and I had to use an Uber to go there. And I'm just talking to the Uber driver. And I'm like, hey, where are you from? Because his accent, I couldn't place it. And my goodness, it was 20 minutes of him telling me everything I needed to know about his whole entire life, how he came to this country, who his parents are. I got a ton of info. And all I asked is like, oh, I'm stuck where, and just asking questions. Yeah. And him just like lighting up like, holy smokes, this guy's asking me questions, and started telling me.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Share your experiences with focusing on the Ford questions.
I had in mind too that goal that we set on adding people to your database and using those questions. Yeah. So one avenue was my neighbors. I live in a cute little townhouse complex where everyone says hi, and it really doesn't go further than that. So I've been making more small talk, and learned a lot about like three of my neighbors, and they're now on my database, and they're nice people. I always knew that, but we just say hi, crazy weather, and go inside. So that was a nice, just personal and professional, to get to know people more.
Absolutely. And, so again, the whole thing is, and Michelle will send this out as a reminder.
I'll share it on the screen.
Oh, she's going to share it on the screen. It's called Ford. Okay. Ford questions. And this comes from understanding what the questions would be in relation to. So first part would be family, right? Everybody wants to talk about their family, good or bad. So are you asking those questions? Occupation, right? It's again talking about asking them questions on, what do they do? What would they like to do? Sometimes it's what would they like to do? Recreation, what do they enjoy doing in their pastime? Whatever that is, can you find a common area? And the dreams really have, what have they, when you talk about dreams, it's you can get into travel, you can get into whatever it is that they would like to do. It might be changing their occupation. It might be doing something. But all of this has nothing to do with buying or selling real estate. This is fact finding. Okay. This is understanding that to be able to service people, you need to understand them, and they need to like and trust you before they are actually going to do business with you. And what's good about this, and you notice how this is a conversation starter. Conversations are about questions. How many of you go in and you get into a situation, or you go in to do a presentation, or you have a first meeting, and all you're doing is blabbering? And this happens. Instead of asking questions and being fact-finding, right? For years, you've heard about, the person that talks the most is learning the least. Because if all you're doing is talking, then you're not asking the questions, right? And in any type of presentation, questions bring out information. And sometimes people don't want to share the information right up front because they're bad, they're defensive. They're not really sure. Okay. But if all you're doing is talking and not asking questions, then you really need to look at how are you presenting, and really look at this Ford system, because this is non-invasive. This is stuff people want to talk about. You haven't asked them financial questions. You haven't asked them really any personal questions that, are geared to where it's a hard conversation to have. So by following this is where you can gather the information. Ironically, today on the radio, and I hear it all the time, there's a company out there they basically do corporate training. And on the radio today, he said, over the holidays, he said, it happened so many times. I would go into a store and you get the same scenario where they're so excited to try and sell you something. He said, I had them blabbering about stuff for 10, 15 minutes about their sales and what's specials, what's on discount. And not once did they actually ask me any questions. They were just presenting to me all about, how great their sales are. He said, you have to understand. He said, you got to be able to ask the questions, and ask the questions in such a way that people are going to give you the information. And then you can guide them. You can move them forward. So between my list, what I'm looking at when I do my list is, okay, this is where I think they're at. So when I go to do my Ford questions with them, I know where my questions are going to try and lead them. I want to find out. Have you ever thought about 5 years down the road when your kids are, finished high school? what's the plan? Or, you know, you've been in the same position. You look like, are you thinking of retiring 5 years, 6 years, 10 years? What's the plan? And if you were to retire, what would you do? Right? Simple question. But I already know in my head that as soon as I get their answers, you know, the information I'm going to add to my list is whatever they've told me. Now I'm going to start sending them stuff. I have so many people that have asked me about our safari trip, and it's a bucket list for them. Well, guess what? The information I keep sending them has nothing to do with about buying or selling real estate. It's as simple as, oh, geez, you know, I was going through my old photos and I came across the picture of this elephant that was right beside our vehicle, and I send it off to them. That's it. And I get, oh my God, that would be so cool. And guess what? What am I building? I'm building trust. I'm getting them to go, like, I'm not talking about buying and selling real estate. I'm helping them dream. I'm helping them look forward. How do I help them get there? Well, maybe when they look at retiring, all of a sudden say, okay, let's take some equity out and put it aside to do a dream trip. Right? So that's the stuff you need to be doing. And, you know, the guy in the radio today made me laugh because he said, you know, after all the experiences and all the sales training that I've done, he said, everybody forgets that the person that asks the last question wins. And think about when you're negotiating an offer, and you've heard me say this so many times. Ask that closing question and shut up. So many agents ask that closing question and then they go, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, you just talked yourself out of the deal. And he referenced a show that I've watched and I love, and I'm going to show you, if you want to learn how to ask questions and how to really get information, you are going to watch an old show. Cue it up, Michelle.
Well, first of all, there's an ad, so.
Cookies sweeten your holidays, while the wrong ones slow down your Mac.
Oh, listen, there's one other thing I wanted to ask you about. Oh, there's one more thing, sir. Oh, one other thing. One more thing. One thing. Oh, one more thing. Gee, I almost forgot what I came here to ask you.
Yes.
If you want to understand how to ask questions, watch that show, Columbo series, and just how many times he asks the question and just shuts up and has his little notepad, and he's just to the point where in some cases it's, what are you writing down? Well, just putting my little notes down. That is the art. Okay, the art of asking questions. And it has not changed in centuries. I don't care how you ask it. If you ask it through AI, if you ask it straight up, you text, there is an art. There's an art of getting that information. Okay, so if you haven't, please listen and watch Columbo, because they're still using his techniques today to show big corporations, sales teams, on how to ask questions. So I heard that today and I thought I would share that with you. By the way, it's on Thursday nights if you're on regular TV, or you can stream it.
It's on right after Murder, She Wrote.
So, but again, put the list together. Okay, put the list together. Go through it. Make sure you know and understand the Ford questions. Okay. This year, and it doesn't matter what the outside noise is. Okay. All you have to do is make sure you're speaking to more people, putting more information out, asking questions, and getting deeper into each individual client to build that trust. You'll do just fine. There's lots of business out there. How has the year been so far? Elroy, congratulations. I saw you already had a sale. That's great.
Yep, off to a rockin' start. First one's in the books.
Wonderful. Where'd they come from? Where'd you cultivate that?
That's a referral from Anita down in Niagara.
Excellent. Super. How long ago did you start that referral?
October. So
Super.
well, so yeah, September, October, a
Yeah.
listing. She wanted to take it off the market early December. And I said, no, leave it up. There's nobody in the place. Leave it up for the holidays because people travel and they start talking with family and friends. And guess what? The buyer wants to move to that area. Because he was up
Perfect.
over Christmas.
Over Christmas. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well done. Okay, who else has got something on the go? And even if it's just conversations you're having, right? Who's had some positive conversations? Who's had some positive stuff over the holidays?
I have.
Yep. Nance?
I had a listing appointment the other day. I'll be listing that next week.
Excellent. Good.
I have a listing
Okay.
in Kitchener, Scott. It's a condo, 1-bedroom condo in
Okay.
Kitchener.
Excellent.
Got off to the start, yes.
Good.
I have.
Hello, Julia.
I still have my listing on Front Street. We did get a lowball offer, but the agent and I are still negotiating behind the scenes. But I'm getting a decent number of showings, so that's good. My King Street one's going to close soon, and I'm chock full of leases, and I'm taking more leases. So, friend of mine has a
Great.
basement apartment in the Junction. It's just a cute little place, and I have a client who I've been trying to sell for a couple of years, and they have some family issues, so they're moving to the Mississauga area, but they're going to try renting for a year. So I'm just negotiating that, and then I'll put their unit on the market for lease. The lease that I had on Richmond Street had 8 offers. So there's
Wow.
a lease market out there. And I would say 5 of 8 of them were excellent candidates. So I'll probably try to move one of those 5 into my lease coming up because they're a similar property. And my furnished lease on Massey is closing soon too. So it's kind of interesting. The tenants that went into the Massey unit with their agent, when I was qualifying their tenancy with their current landlord, I was talking to the landlord on the phone, and I realized I had leased out that exact unit in 2016. So
Wow.
that's why he hired me to lease her apartments, because I asked her some questions. I said, do you remember so-and-so? Because I've been in your building, and she was on the 4th floor. And as I was talking to her, it pinged in my mind. I'm like, I think it's the same unit. And she really liked my friend as a tenant, so she asked me to lease it for her. So the
Again,
whole
great
question,
right?
good
Asking
conversation.
questions. Well done. Well done. Okay. And again, it's just asking questions and understand that the whole concept of this is not looking for immediate business, looking for a way of building that continued business. Okay. And if it comes right away, great. But you're building a relationship business. And that's the beauty of this. I know we keep talking about it and keep saying that, the real estate stuff, that's just the side product. It's all about the relationships. So you've got to be able to use, again, something similar to the technique that I use, absolutely, you've got to dive deeper into your database. That's where the future money is, okay? And the referrals, okay? Understanding the Ford questions, okay? And if you really want to understand how these relationships work, I'm in the depths of really looking at, it's called ninja selling. Is anyone familiar with ninja selling? Julia?
I listen to it in my car sometimes. It's really good. It really makes you think. I
Okay.
think you'll love it.
Yeah. So I'm 3/4 of the way through the book. I've already got podcasts that I'm listening to. And here's the ironic part about all of this. This is nothing new. Ninja selling is not new.
Nothing new.
We have talked about it, but it's really gears into your mindset, your morning rituals, your evening ritual, and really working your database and relationships. So it really ties in well. So if you are not following it, you'd be actually surprised that a lot of the stuff that we've actually talked about, including the Ford conversations, is all right out ninja selling. Okay. So please look at it, because I am going to do more teachings on it. And it's not so much teachings as it is activities. Because that's where the business is. Okay. So who else has got something? Who's got a listing? Who's got?
Well, Matthew's not here, but Matthew got a lease listing from a couple who own a restaurant that he regularly visits. And they had some painting work for him to do. And then he was mentioning, oh, I do real estate as well, and started talking to them about real estate. And they're like, well, hey, we've been trying to rent out the unit above the restaurant. Would you do that for us? And he's like, of course. It turns out they have never used a real estate agent to rent that unit out. They've always done it themselves. But because Matthew was doing exactly the Ford method here and just asking them questions and talking to them, he built such a high level of trust. They're like, here, you take it. You find us a tenant, and you can, you get your commission from that. And that's super impressive for two reasons. One, Matthew, according to the mom, is not a talker. So he's coming out of his shell now of, hey, I have value, and if I don't communicate that value, I'm not going to get business. So that's number one. And number two, because he's listening to myself and Joseph, and to you, of course, Scott, he's starting to realize that having those conversations gets you that business. Because here's people who are a business owner, they know business, they've been having this restaurant for 20 years, and they've never used an agent, and now they're using him. Says a lot about himself and what he's saying.
And again, it's asking the questions. People will not do business with you until they like and trust you and see that you care.
And see if you care. That's right.
Right? Then that's why getting more involved with your database is showing that you care. You're being more personable. And again, the whole thing may be, they're not going to be right. You basically say, look, I'm not trying to, this may not be for you today, but 5 years down the road goes by pretty fast. Right? So then the whole idea is that's what you're building. And every time you do that, you're also looking at the referral system. You're also looking at adding more people to your database. That's 2026 is going to be exactly what it's going to be, is whoever has the most in-depth relationships with the consumer is going to get the business. Not going to be the cheapest. It's not going to be whoever has the most in-depth relationship. And it's either going to be you or it's going to be somebody else. And actually in business, they call that flow. Okay. And you've probably had this happen to you, where you may have been on an open house. These people may have been already online looking at stuff, but they come through your open house, you have a conversation with them, and all of a sudden you start following up with them. They start responding. And all of a sudden you're into this flow of activity. Now, they may have had, and I've had this happen, where I ended up selling them something, and because we got into a flow, yet they had done business with another realtor before. But that realtor didn't stay in the flow with them, didn't stay in contact. Odd time here and there, but they didn't get into the flow. And I'm sure everybody's had this experience where all of a sudden you just feel like you and your clients are all going the same direction, that's that flow. They're communicating, you're communicating. But you have to really build that flow and make sure you're building it with your database. Because if you're not, before all of a sudden you find out where you go, oh crap, I've been sending those people a newsletter or been emailing them and they're on my drip campaign. But all of a sudden you find out that they take, unsubscribe because they bought something. Well, the reason they bought something is because they got into the flow with somebody else. So, right? And it happens because you've got to understand, like, how do you make sure that you're in your database and you're in flow with them? And the only way you can do that is you got to get personable with them. Same thing with anybody that your online leads. And maybe Elroy, you can speak to this because you do a lot of online stuff. Do you all of a sudden get to a point where you feel like you've got that flow with one particular prospect that seems to be communicating more, and that leads further down the road? Have you had that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, when they start responding and asking questions, I usually try to pick up the phone right away and get a voice call with them, because then you connect fast. Texting and emailing works, but the second you can get them on the phone, yeah, that's the goal. Get them on the phone and get them out to a place. Yeah.
Right. And then all of a sudden you feel like that flow of that decision making and that flow of, communication seems to be moving down the right direction.
Oh yeah, the whole conversation becomes warm and just moves along. Suddenly it's like they've known you for a while. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is what they refer to as flow. So once you start feeling that, okay, then you got to make sure you keep that going. Because if you stop, then all of a sudden they're going to find a flow with somebody else. So how do you make sure your database, you got flow with them? Well, I got a new stat for you. It used to be 26 times a year. It's now 38. 38 different touches to create that flow, and minimum 12 of them have to be really focused, personal. Not your newsletter. Not it's really, they're now saying, because to create that flow, and that's why I'm referencing, you really got to understand that database. How in tuned are you with them? That creates that flow. Okay. And so again, this year, all you got to concentrate on are, how are my relationships? How in tune am I with my database? Am I asking the forward questions to be able to get more information? Am I babbling or am I asking questions? Am I a Columbo? Okay. Because 2026, there's huge opportunity. Good, professional, honest realtors who engage with their consumers are going to do just fine. Ones that sit back and wait for the business to come to them and say, oh, I sent out emails, I sent out some texts, they're going to struggle. Your choice on which one you want to be. I've already told Michelle, I said, I'm doubling down. This year, we're doubling down on how many conversations we're having with our database, how many meetings how many people I'm physically going to go see. Because when I delivered, by the way, I delivered 25 poinsettias personally over the holidays. And I was pretty well all over. And if I can do that and take time out to be able to go see these people, have conversations with them, I'm going to tell you already, I know I'm getting 2 deals this year. Just from those poinsettias where I was just chatting with them And unfortunately, one had a life-changing experience. The other one's in a point where, Scott, this house is just, it's way, way too much maintenance for me. And then I was at a different event with her and her friends sitting at the table that I was at, and their friends. So Niagara on the Lake still interests you, so you can get out of that big house in Niagara Falls? And she says, yeah, I think it might be time. Where do you think the information I'm going to be sending her is going to be about? Right? So none of that happens unless you start having those pop buys and physically chatting with them. Okay. And it could be Zoom, it could be however, but you need to have the face-to-face conversations. And you got to double down on that. You really got to double down on really getting to know your database. Okay. Go see them. Make a point of building a really strong, I'd rather you have 100 people that you are so in tune with versus 500 people all you're doing is sending garbage to. And just think about flow. What flow are you having with your database? Because if it's not you, it's going to be somebody else. Okay. So I've done a lot of talking.
One more thing.
I got one more question for you. Please share one goal this year that what your target is, how we can help you. Elizabeth, you're on my top left of my screen, so I'm asking you first.
Well, I talked about it before, but one of my big goals is to host 2 community events this year. I've never done that before. So I don't know how you guys can help me, but if it's something fun, maybe you can come and show up.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can you share with us which community?
Yes. So
because if you share with us the community.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really early stages, but one of my clients is the owner of the yoga studio I attend. So I'm thinking, we've had a couple light conversations about me hosting something and her doing the yoga. So obviously that community event, it's if you're in Guelph, if you care about yoga, if you're into that kind of thing. But I think that'll be really cool to expand my kind of sphere of influence in that world.
Okay. I'm not a yoga person.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
that's okay.
But I totally understand it. So here's a question for you. As a yoga person, if you saw an event advertised, what kind of event would interest you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it has to be something a little unique. It's not just like a regular yoga class. Something I've been playing with too is having it be free to the community or proceeds go to charity, something like that. But I don't know where I stand on that yet.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I just did, there's something at my yoga studio called We Got You class. And so it's a class to the community. And you just sign up and it's all the teachers in the studio teach a little portion of the class, 75 minutes. And so it gets different types of teachers interacting with the community. But so there's 2 rooms in the studio. One is like the big hot room and the other is like the warm room. So in the warm room, they had vendors. So walked into the studio, there was a big table of like free snacks, waters, stuff like that. And then all the teachers were there. They did an introduction at the start. They tell you what class they teach and when it is. From that, I actually started attending 2 new classes, which was cool. But in the other room, after the class is done, they invite you to go talk to the vendors. They're small businesses in the community. And the class is free with 1 or more perishable food items that you bring.
That's cool. I'm writing that down.
Okay. Elroy, you're in my bottom left corner. And by the way, congrats on your new YouTube stuff. I
Yeah.
did subscribe. Excellent stuff. So
Well, yeah,
one goal would
Well, that is my goal for the year. I got started before Christmas on purpose because people are around the house staring at their phones and tablets and all that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping to have a video out every 2 weeks. I think there's another one out now. I think one got posted yesterday. So it's
Yes,
been getting
I saw
decent
it.
traction.
Good.
Oh, you saw it,
Okay,
Michelle? Good.
How can we help?
Spread the channel news in your newsletters or
Okay.
whatever you want to do. If you know someone moving north, let them know. Me and Nancy are eager to get more business. Move them
Okay.
north.
Great. Super. And good job with that. I watched the one about Barrie.
Yeah, that's the very first one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a few around Barrie coming because Barrie's a pretty big town, and there's lots of people
Yeah.
moving out of Barrie north, so it's a good spot to start to bring them in and move them out.
Okay. Super. All right, Nancy, I see you.
There's nowhere to hide.
No.
I have a few goals, as you know. I think the biggest one, the most important one, well, other than increasing my gross sales by a certain percentage, my big thing, Michelle, I'm going to try and embrace technology a little bit better. I'm going to try not to be so stubborn and try and embrace it a little more than I've been trying to shoo it away. So that's kind of my mission for this year.
Okay, great. Can I get you to say that again without using the word try?
Oh.
You are so unfair. Okay, yes, I will embrace it a little bit more, but not to the extent that AI is going to take over my brain. So yes, I am going to work on that.
Excellent. Okay, Gautam, I got you on the right.
Yeah, I mean, this year, I mean, I want to focus on basically conversion more. I mean, I've got a lot of leads and getting leads is not a problem. But again, conversion is where I do lack. And this year, I want to focus more on that. And like exactly you said today, right? Like asking those 4 questions, right? I mean, learning a way so we don't overwhelm people or not stepping beyond certain boundaries, right? And that's kind of where I need to get training on. Like you said, keep bringing these things to us, like Ninja Selling, you said, like share with us more things that how we have those conversations in very casual way so it doesn't feel awkward that we are kind of going beyond our means, right? And it's not all about selling. Sometimes I struggle with that because where do you keep balance and not bring the sale in the picture and have that personal connection, right? So need help with that probably, definitely from you.
Okay. Yeah, and again, it's really understanding what the questions and listening to the answers, how you can move people forward, right? So, and a lot of times when it comes to that, it's the information and when you present it to them, and what I do sometimes, I said, look, you may not have thought of this before, but based on our conversations, this might be a direction to consider. Okay. Because I've done that and where I've got a response from people where they're going, we actually didn't think of it that way before.
Got it.
Okay.
Good.
So you really want to guide people. Okay.
Sure.
Let me just turn around here for a sec. Nasir, what do you got going on this? One item this year that's a goal that we can help you with.
You're already doing a lot.
Well, that's fine. We appreciate that. But
even after so many years, every time I come to the meeting, I learn things. So you're doing more than enough. I mean, I have to motivate myself to do a little bit more because I've been relying only on my previous clients always.
Great.
It's been working out, but I do see some ups and downs then.
Okay.
I'm getting a rental listing in Edwards Garden condo.
Okay.
For almost $3,800, which is a bit overpriced, but
okay. So your one goal then would be try to add more people to your database that
are not my referrals.
That not referrals.
Yeah.
Okay. So new additions. Okay. All right.
Which sometimes with the social media, I do pick up. In fact, a Brampton condo house rental, the 4-bedroom, we reduced it now $2,450 or $2,495.
Okay.
And I put a Kijiji ad and a Facebook ad. I had like 15 to 20 people texting me overnight.
Yeah.
Majority had low credit reports, which we didn't want to maintain,
You're
but
only looking for one.
yeah, and I found two possibilities, but one of them may want to buy in a year or two.
Yeah.
So I'm pushing them to get it rented, so I'm in, close proximity with them for next year or
Okay.
2 years, whenever, yeah.
Okay, so then maybe one of the things that we can make a note for, and this is, and again, please understand, this is just not myself and Michelle. This is everybody on a part of our organization to help Nasir understand how he can ask for more engagement outside his database. So social media, maybe, make sure when you're doing your social media or your paid ads or anything like that, make sure you've got a call to action. Okay, that's the biggest thing. It's great to put information out there, but you have to have a call to action. Okay. Herbert, one.
I'll need your help to, we're planning to do two kind of like community barbecues, one at Matthew's Townhouse Complex. We're going to be doing one there for the spring.
Okay.
So I just need more ideas and better way of getting leads from that barbecue. I feel that the one that we did last year at Joseph's daycare center, we're not getting the contacts. They do reach out to Joseph, so it's good. It works out well because Joseph is there. But I think what we're missing is something that we stay top of mind and we get some kind of phone number, email, something that we can reach out to them and start sending them, a newsletter and stuff like that. So that's the only thing that's missing on my side that we need to figure out and then implement for the spring.
Okay. So how to do more of a localized, similar to what Elizabeth is thinking, but in her townhouse complex or in her complex and what you're thinking. Okay.
Yeah, and just getting leads, like something, either we give them something or just a way of collecting data, something to that nature.
Okay. I can tell you that one of the easiest ways is you got to have draws. You got to have giveaways.
That's great.
Yeah, you have to have giveaways. And just let them know that, we are going to reach out because we want to inform everybody who the actual winner is. Because how many times do you put your name into something and you never hear about who the actual winner is? So on your draw, you will say, we will be reaching out to inform everybody who the winner is. And you want to get a picture with the winner. You want to be able to put that out, especially when you're in a community event. Okay. Localized community. Okay, so good. We've got that one. Now I know, Julia, you of you got your cameras off and I appreciate that, but even if you want to just put in the chat. Okay, there you are, Julia.
Hey, there we go.
What one goal that you've set aside that we as an organization and all your colleagues here can help you with?
Because I work in a world that doesn't really have that many doors to knock on because they're inside condos and such, I think social media, I really need help with that. I'm failing in doing it efficiently and quickly. I have a tendency to overthink things, so I need I need to have a process where I just kind of get it done and put it away. So I'd love help with that. I'd also like to utilize Lofty a bit more. I noticed with my one lease, I got a lot of Realtor.ca leads, which go into Lofty. But I don't feel I have Lofty set up properly yet either. So,
okay. Elroy, I know you may have stepped away, but you've been using Lofty. Is there anything you could help Julia with the back end, how you're really utilizing it?
Yeah, I can help. Lofty's kind of on my goal to tweak it a little better and make it a little more efficient. The AI chatbot is okay in Lofty, but I'm trying to make it work a little better, a little more friendly, because right now it's a little bit harsh on people. But yeah, I can definitely help. I think maybe we should get a group of people together and fine-tune this Lofty thing a little more.
Okay, so if
they have online support, but it's quite general, and sometimes I'd like a little more specific stuff.
Okay, well, we actually have an opportunity. Our brokerage out in Saskatoon or in Saskatchewan, they have different offices. They now have 25 Lofty users. So if I can set up, let me correct that. If Michelle can set up a session where we just do a Lofty session with people who are using Lofty for best practices. Would that be of interest?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. We will work on getting that set up. Okay. Nancy, you had a question?
I had a question, but I already answered it right after I put my hand up. Because what I was going to say is, if you're going to help Julia, like, I'll join. So, but he kind of covered that. So
Excellent. Okay. Hunter, I know you've got your camera off, or even if you want to put something in the chat. Same with you, James. I know where you are might be tough. And then John, there you are. John.
Like Nancy, I need to focus more on technology, which Hunter has been helping me out with and will continue to do so, try and get some stuff. He's helped me get my YouTube channel going. I also have a goal of 100 new contacts for my database. Sort of
Okay.
met the goal last month, getting 7 new contacts. So I want to keep that going for 2026.
Wonderful. So how many did you add in December? 7?
7. I got 4 from a BOMA lunch and some networking events I attended before Christmas, and 3 more through my 2 referee associations that I'm still involved with. So those have been very good for business
Excellent.
development for me.
Good. Okay. Jake, I know you don't have your camera on, or Hunter or James, but you guys want to throw in the chat one item that would be a goal you're trying to do this year that we as a collaboration can help with. And I've got everybody else I've asked.
Yep.
Okay. And I appreciate everybody sharing, because what it does is, some of the things that you are trying, as we've heard, you're not alone in some of the things that you're trying to achieve, right? And as a group, it's easier to do it together than you trying to do it individually. So that's why I appreciate everybody opening up and then sharing. And we've got notes on things, and we're going to focus on a lot of that.
You can't see that. Oh, there you go.
Okay. But at the same time, again, it gets down to understanding and looking at your daily, weekly activities, on adding people to your database, and really, really getting involved with your database. That's where, again, I've said it a few times, that's where the magic happens. Okay. And long term. All right. Anything else before we sign off? Any questions? Hopefully you've got, again, really think about where you're at, make your lists, dive into your lists, and just focus every day on what are you doing today to build those relationships and add to them. All right. Again, Happy New Year to everybody. 2026 is there for the taking. It is there. Okay. And all of us are going to be quite successful. We're going to be sitting here a year from now going, wow, what a great year. But it starts now. Okay. All right. Good to see everybody. Catch up.
Happy New Year, everyone.
have a good day.
James just typed something in here. Understanding the first steps questions to be asking for buyer and seller clients to get the ball rolling. Okay. So again, James is looking for those initial questions, right? Similar to what Gautam was saying, I have conversations, but how do you get them going? Okay. And we're going to help with some of that. All right. Super. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Looking forward again. See you next Wednesday. If not before, you know where we are. If you need our help.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.